You deceived me. What's wrong all of a sudden? Here you are. He showed me the results of our son's allergy test. You see it, don't you? A circle was carefully drawn around our son's blood type. That's. Both my husband and I were supposed to be type A. Yet, our son's blood type was listed as B. That couldn't be right. Surely, our son is ours. Made a kid with another man, huh? This must be some mistake. You know that as well. Just as I suspected. Huh? Then, he started yelling at me louder than before, causing our son to cry. Hey! Don't yell like that! Shut up! That kid isn't mine. I want a divorce right now. My words weren't reaching him anymore. Just stop the crying. He tried to kick our son. I instinctively covered the boy to protect him. If he's so precious, then disappear from my sight with that brat, you bitch. That's when I made a suggestion. If you're that suspicious, let's do a DNA test. Trying to clear things up with that? Stop wasting money. We don't know that yet, do we? He started laughing. Fine. I'll wait until the results are in. I needed to find out what was happening. I waited for the results and returned home. There, sitting down, were my in-laws. It turns out my husband had gathered them. Normally, this would be surprising, but it saved me the trouble. You called your parents too, huh? I gathered your parents here to witness your bullshit. If this is true, it's unbelievable. Do you understand? My relationship with my mother-in-law was never good. No, that's an understatement. Of course, I understand. And there's someone here who has been lying outrageously. Don't talk nonsense, just show it. Saying this, my husband snatched the test results from me. What is this? My husband started shaking. That's what I've been telling you. He's our child. Then, could it be? You've realized, haven't you? Who the real culprit is among us. My husband slowly walked up to that person. Then, he thrust the test results in front of them. Explain this to me. What followed was a dramatic unfolding of events. In a way, my husband was a victim. But even so, I couldn't forgive him. The revenge for trying to hurt our son wasn't over yet. I am Maya, a 31-year-old nurse. I met Carter, my husband, at a mixer. Wow, that's something. No, not really. It's a very small company, and we're barely getting by. Carter was running a construction business with his parents. Though small, it had been passed down through generations. And what about you, Maya? I'm a nurse. I was inspired by my mother who was a nurse. This meeting led us to often spend time with just the two of us. Being with Carter made me forget the fatigue from work. I loved going out, and Carter took me to various places where we had a great time together. We met when I was 26, started dating after about 6 months, and got married a year later. The biggest reason I decided to marry him was his generous nature and how he cared for me, especially when I was tired from night shifts. However, there was something that concerned me. The presence of my mother-in-law. I felt it from the moment we first met. Being a nurse is tough, isn't it? What will you do if you have a child? The hospital I work at is very supportive of maternity and paternity leave. That's now, but you won't know until you have a child. I think it will be fine. Nevertheless, my mother-in-law, even on our first meeting, seemed to disapprove of everything I did. The main reason might be my personality. Like my mother, I have a strong character and tend to talk back. You're quite bold towards me, aren't you? No, I didn't mean. Besides, a wife should join her husband's family, shouldn't she? Then, Carter stepped in to mediate. Mom, calm down a bit. You don't need to be so harsh. I didn't mean it like that. Sure enough, being admonished by her son, my mother-in-law quieted down. However, I kept to myself the glare she gave me as we left her house, thinking it's best to avoid her as much as possible. By the way, you and your father don't really look alike, do they? Do we? I mean, you're almost the opposite. I hadn't really thought about it. Sorry about earlier, I didn't expect Mom to react that way. It's okay. I talked back too. Yeah. I was a bit surprised. After that, my life with Carter had no issues. We supported each other, living day by day. However, my mother-in-law strongly believed that a woman's place is in the home. It happened when I was about to take a nap after a night shift. Suddenly, my mother-in-law came to visit. That's when her harassment, almost like stalking, began. Hello, who is it? I wondered why my mother-in-law was here. Why are you here? You came back at this hour? Wandering around at night, that's unacceptable. Apparently, she mistook me for coming home after a night out. I'm sorry, but I just came back from a night shift. And why do you know I just came back? Because I saw it, of course. Our house faces a major street. Across the road, there's a cafe from where the entrance to our condo is clearly visible. A troubling thought crossed my mind. Was she watching? I felt chills all over. So, what brings you here today? I completely forgot. Come to her place and start working as a wife should. Suddenly saying that won't make it possible. She continued to visit when Carter wasn't home, as if timing it. I managed to dodge her each time, but dealing with her after a night shift only added to my stress. I won't do as my mother-in-law says. I really like my job as a nurse. Lately, I've been entrusted with training new staff, and I've been having fulfilling days. Plus, I have good relationships with my coworkers, and despite the difficulties, I've never wanted to quit. My income is good, and I never felt the benefits of joining my mother-in-law's household as she suggested. Carter agrees with me, right? Like I said before, that idea won't catch on. Besides, Maya loves her job, and why are you so fixated on this? You're a worthy successor, aren't you? Of course, I understand that, but Dad can still work, can't he? You never know when that might change. Carter sighed deeply. Anyway, this is our problem. Let us do as we please. Even faced with Carter's words, my mother-in-law wouldn't back down. You weren't like this before we got married. You've become so defiant. I'm not a child anymore. Please, just go home. My mother-in-law left as if chased out by Carter. Why won't she listen? Why is she so obsessed? I don't know either. But I've heard stories that she was treated quite harshly by her mother-in-law when she was younger. But if she becomes just like that, it's completely backward, isn't it? Yeah. Maybe I'll talk to Dad about it. That sounds good. Later, we went to visit them at my in-laws, despite my reluctance to see my mother-in-law. Even if she says something, Dad and I are here this time. I'll protect you. His words eased my worries. As we rested in the living room, my mother-in-law inevitably showed up. My mother-in-law persistently demanded that I quit my job and move in with them. She seemed to have a significant fixation on having me in the house, showing no willingness to compromise. Moreover, she criticized my work as if it were something outrageous. It's so strange that you're so obsessed with working. What? How does that even make sense? You're the one who's being unreasonable. I couldn't hold back and responded. Then, perhaps reaching her limit of anger, she threw a cup towards me. What are you doing? What if it had hit me? All of this could be resolved if you just listened to me. That makes no sense. Not knowing what she might do next, I was genuinely afraid. Just then, Carter and his father walked in. Are you at it again? It's because this woman won't listen. Enough already. Watching the exchange, my father-in-law had a bitter look on his face. Normally reserved, it seems even he couldn't overlook this. Let them be. You've been acting strangely lately. You too? Carter and you both are being deceived by this woman. My mother-in-law's delusions only worsened. She wouldn't stop. Why must I be the villain? Can we stop this? She looked at me with eyes full of hatred. You're probably gallivanting around with men other than Carter. I'm not doing anything like that. Nurses are popular with men, right? You must be getting a lot of attention. Please, don't say that. Really, you're saying you work night shifts, but you're probably out with men till morning? Then, my father-in-law, with a voice louder than I thought he could muster, reprimanded her. Enough! Saying that, he slapped my hysterical mother-in-law's cheek. Are you calmed down a bit now? She sat down, motionless as if her batteries had run out. She looked like a toy whose batteries had run out. Thanks for coming today. Leave Mom to me, and you go home. Okay, I understand. Let's go, Maya. Yeah. On the way back. Is something wrong? Huh? Sorry. I wasn't listening. You seemed a bit spaced out. It's nothing, really. I said that, but clearly, something was off. Carter never sided with his mother, but he also started to become colder towards me. About a month later, Carter made an unexpected proposal. What? Why all of a sudden? I've been thinking. We can't keep living like this. Plus, my dad's health has been declining. So, you want us to move in? That's the best way for everyone to be happy. We can't afford for Dad to fall ill. I could understand what Carter was saying. Everyone is happy, but what about me? And Carter's demands didn't stop there. And I want you to quit your job. That's absolutely not happening. Really? I loved my job, and it had become like a purpose in life for me. So, I made a condition. I can somewhat agree to moving in, but I'm keeping my job. That's my condition. Carter seemed hesitant, but ultimately, he agreed to my terms. And just like that, the move happened quickly. The next day, we started packing, and 2 days later, we began our new life at his parents' house. When this was brought up, I felt as if the rug had been pulled out from under me. However, having accepted the situation, I decided to give it my all. With both Carter and his father there, I thought we could make it work. You've come at a good time. My mother-in-law greeted me with a full-on smile. Knowing everything that had happened before, the shock was substantial. And my surprise continued. The mother-in-law, who had once seen me as an enemy, started to show concern for me. How's work lately? Work. It's tough, but I'm fulfilled. That's good. But don't overdo it. Yes, thanks. It was hard to believe this was the same person who had told me to quit my job. She didn't leave all the housework to me and made sure to share the duties. Oh, it's fine. Please have a rest. What are you saying? You're busy with work, so you should rest. After starting to live with my mother-in-law, I realized that she didn't intend to harass me. It seemed she was just clumsy and lonely. However, Carter seemed to dislike our improving relationship. He slammed the newspaper on the table, visibly frustrated. What's wrong? What do you mean, what's wrong? After everything I've done for you. I appreciate it, but... Now, you're getting along with her after all the complaints? There's no need to be so angry. He stood up abruptly, making a loud noise. We're not done talking. Enough already. After all these arguments, the day would end. Mentally exhausted, I barely managed to do some tidying up before collapsing into bed for the day. How did it come to this? I thought we had resolved the issues with my mother-in-law, but Carter's change of attitude was a new challenge. Just when I wondered why things couldn't go smoothly, some good news arrived. Weeks later, I discovered I was pregnant. Feeling slightly anemic at work, I decided to get checked out, which revealed I was 3 months pregnant. So, I'm going to be a father. Thank you. Your health comes first now. You'll have to take it easy with work. Yeah. Our strained relationship began to improve with the pregnancy news. Carter became more considerate. If it's a boy, it'll be great. But a girl would be just as lovely. My in-laws were overjoyed, treating it as if it was their happiness. For them, this would be their first grandchild. From then on, life began to revolve around me. Please take care of yourself and the baby in your belly. We'll handle the rest. Thanks for everything. It's okay. Seeing the whole family eagerly anticipating the baby, I felt our once awkward family relationship begin to bond in an unprecedented way. My belly was growing larger by the day, and it was starting to affect my work. Maybe this is a good chance to focus on giving birth and consider resigning? But I really want to continue my job in the future. Really? Quitting now would be safe since my mom is here, and you'd be at ease. Of course, I understand that. You've been very considerate up to now. My feelings hadn't changed. Without having to quit, maternity leave and parental leave would suffice, I explained, and it seemed Carter finally accepted my decision. Then, with the devoted support of my in-laws, I gave birth to a healthy boy. His name is Miles. As he grew steadily, reaching the age of 1, I started thinking about returning to work. Returning to work already? Isn't that too soon? The house has your mother, and it's not like I'm going back full-time right away. Do you care more about work than your son? What? That's not true at all. Then why? Raising a child costs money. I just want to start earning early. I wanted to minimize any inconvenience. Surely, my in-laws would offer financial support willingly. However, I knew. Lately, the company's performance wasn't great. It seemed we couldn't compete with the major construction companies. There were more days Carter was at home, called standby days. Carter's momentum weakened when money was mentioned. He must understand too. All right, but make sure to balance childcare. Of course. I'm not planning to do either halfway. When Miles celebrated his first birthday, we visited my parents' home. Indeed. But be wary of people who change their opinions too easily. Some might suddenly change their whole personality. Yeah, I'll be careful. I already knew 2 such people. My mother added. If you ever can't bear it anymore, remember you can always come back here. After that. You might have guessed, but you should also consider divorce. But surely, it hasn't come to that. You never know what life will bring. My mother wasn't joking. Her expression was dead serious. Okay. Upon returning to my in-laws' house, I was met with a surprise. Where have you been? I told your mom I was going back to my parents' house. Huh? I didn't hear anything about that. Where is your mom, anyway? Don't know. Carter seemed to be in a bad mood. Though I couldn't tell why. That's when my mother's words immediately came back to me. His opinions change on a whim. From then on, Carter would lash out with harsh words not just at me but also at our son whenever things didn't go his way. As bad as that was, a comment from my mother-in-law made things even worse. When I got back from work and had left my son in her care. Sorry, I'm a bit late. It's fine. Miles was a good boy today. Thank you so much. That's when Carter arrived. Welcome back. That was quick. It's not busy at all. The last few months saw a noticeable decrease in work. But it wasn't something I could openly discuss. I did my best not to upset him further. A comment from my mother-in-law chilled the room instantly. By the way, Miles doesn't really look like Carter, does he? More like you, Maya? Carter, who was about to change out of his work clothes, froze. What did you say? Huh? What did you just say? I said Miles doesn't look much like you. Then Carter glared at me. I didn't understand why he got so angry just because someone said our son didn't look like him. After that day, Carter hardly spoke to me or our son at all. Even if I try to talk to him, he just ignores me. The only time he does speak to me is to tell me to do household chores he never asked for before. As time passed, 2 years flew by in what seemed like an instant. Then, one day, my once kind mother-in-law started joining Carter in making life difficult for me. I've let things slide until now, but from here on, you're in charge of all the household duties. Why all of a sudden? How could I have not seen it before? What are you talking about? I heard it from Carter. You've been using work as an excuse to meet other men. What? That made absolutely no sense. Do you have any proof? Of course I do. She presented a photo. Sure, it featured me and a man. But he was not a secret lover. You think this photo is proof of me cheating? Yes, there's no escaping it now. For your information, he's a doctor at the same hospital I work at. You think that lie will hold up? Just as Mom said, making excuses is pitiful. I felt my fist clenching. So, they wanted to degrade me this much. Why are you doing this? Why? You should know very well. Mom, leave this to me. Perhaps I should. She retreated to her room. If you're going to tell the truth, now's the time. What do you mean by that? Then, our son entered the living room. Miles? What's wrong? My nose is itchy. Maybe you've caught a cold. Noticing his runny nose. I checked his temperature, but it was normal. Still, he couldn't stop sneezing. So annoying. Don't talk to him like that. Miles is only 2 years old. Then do something about it. I can't stand the noise. Concerned about Miles, I immediately took him to the hospital. Is my son going to be okay? It's likely allergies. Allergies? It could be hay fever. What should we do? To find out what he's allergic to, let's do a blood test. After that, they asked about the blood type, but I answered that I didn't know. At this time, I also mentioned that both I and Carter are type A. The diagnosis revealed that Miles has an allergy to house dust, among others. Prescribed medication brought relief. But this means? Another issue emerged. The blood test showed Miles's blood type as B, not matching either parents. Why is this happening? I felt an indescribable chill as I returned home. So? What was it? I decided to keep the blood type issue secret until I understood more. It seems to be allergies. He's got medicine now, so it should be okay. All right. The next day escalated. You've been deceiving me. What are you talking about? Here it is. He showed me the allergy test results, pointing out the blood type. You know, don't you? The circle was meticulously drawn around our son's blood type section. That is. I had planned to keep it hidden until I understood the situation, but I hadn't expected it to be found. So, you went and had a child with another man. This has to be some mistake. You know that as well as I do. Just as I thought. What? Then, my husband raised his voice even more and started berating me, causing our son to burst into tears. Hey! Don't yell like that! Shut up! That brat isn't my child. I want a divorce now. My words weren't reaching my husband at the moment. Stop crying already! He attempted to kick our son. Instinctively, I covered my son to protect him. If he's that important, disappear with that brat, you bitch. Carter went back to the bedroom for a moment and then aggressively handed me our belongings. He even threw the bags out of the window. That's when I made a suggestion. If you doubt that much, let's do a DNA test. So, you want to make it clear, huh? Stop wasting money on useless things. You don't know that yet. Then he started laughing. All right. I'll wait until the results are out. But, you need to leave this house until then. Considering the current situation, leaving the house seemed like a better option. But I'll need your DNA too. I'll do that much. So, what do I need to do? I'll send a testing kit later. I see. So, I just need to collect a sample, right? Yes. Just that, then. Get out now. I took leave and returned to my parents' house. 3 days after returning home, the testing kit arrived from Carter. While being cared for by my parents, I requested a DNA test. In further conversations with my parents, I received an unexpected hint. Are you sure he's really Carter's child? Mom, you're saying that too. Just checking. Of course, I don't believe you've been with another man. But I'm curious why this happened. Then, my dad made a comment. Maya is definitely type A, so that would mean her husband's blood type must be different, right? But I heard Carter is also type A. What about his parents' blood types? And have you guys had any recent blood type tests? What my father said made sense. If what my dad said was correct. About 2 weeks later, the results arrived at my parents' house. Shall we open it? Yes. With trembling hands, I slowly opened the envelope. It confirmed the child was undoubtedly mine and Carter's. However, the issue was Carter's blood type was not A but B. This clarifies everything. Yeah. You know what to do now, right? Of course. I'll be going then. I'll take care of Miles. With that, I headed to my in-laws' house. Opening the door and heading to the living room, I found my in-laws sitting there. And surprisingly, my husband had gathered them. Normally, I would be shocked, but for me, it saved unnecessary hassle. So, you called your parents too, huh? I wanted them to see for themselves just how screwed up you are. If this turns out to be true, it's unbelievable. Do you understand? Our relationship with my mother-in-law was never good. It's an understatement to say we didn't get along. Of course, I understand. And in this room is someone who has been telling a terrible lie. Stop talking nonsense and show it to me. My husband demanded, snatching the test results from me. What the hell is this? He began to tremble. I told you. He's our child. So, surely, you've realized who the real villain here is. Carter slowly walked up to that person. And then, he thrust the test results in front of them. Explain this. An intense confrontation ensued. I always thought I was type A, but... No way, it was you all along. There was no escape for my mother-in-law now. She seemed resigned to her fate. I'm truly sorry. Who's the other man? Someone from high school. Are you still in contact with him? Not at all. I have no idea where he is or what he's doing. Carter slumped, as if his soul had left him. All this time, I've been raising someone else's child. I could only feel sympathy for him. After all you've put me through, huh? I don't know how to apologize enough. Apologies? I don't need them. Oh, and before I forget, I have something to give you. Huh? What I handed him was a divorce petition. Divorce papers? Of course. I'm also a victim who was deceived, aren't I? Even so, you never believed me. Whether or not your mother was involved, I don't think it would have made a difference. Wait a minute. No way. Besides, the fact you tried to kick your son is undeniable. Just give it up. I looked towards my father-in-law. Seemingly understanding my point, he nodded in agreement. You and Carter, get out. Wait. Dad. I'm not to blame, am I? The fact that you've treated Maya and Miles terribly is undeniable. Well, at my father-in-law's words, my mother-in-law started yelling. It's too late for complaints now. Carter is no longer your son. To just act like it never happened? Don't be ridiculous. My father-in-law slammed the table with force. The quarrel between the in-laws continued. Carter, are you still here? You're an eyesore. Get lost. Hey! That's... Seeing Carter like that, I couldn't help but laugh. What's so funny? It's just too funny. Oh, and make sure you file the divorce papers, okay? I was about to leave my in-laws' house. It seems their argument was still ongoing. Probably, knowing my father-in-law, he won't let my mother-in-law off easily. I'm curious about what will happen next. I need to get back to Miles quickly. In the end, Carter was kicked out of the house. He tried to beg to be let back in, but my father-in-law was adamant, making it pointless. Naturally, he was fired from his job. The issue of his succession was back to square one, leaving him jobless. By the way, I heard Carter got kicked out? Did Dad tell you? Well, of course. But it's not over yet. I, as if to add insult to injury, requested to file for alimony. The abuse and neglect Carter had shown towards Miles and the emotional abuse towards me were recognized, leading to a successful claim, and the divorce was finalized. What's wrong? Well, I was hesitant to contact you, but I thought you might be worried. Is it about your wife? Don't worry. Just like Carter, he was kicked out of the house. After leaving the family home, it seems Carter tried to reach out to his real father. They attempted to rely on him, but since he already had his own family and didn't remember anything from decades ago, he bluntly rejected them. It's really stupid, isn't it? Totally. We laughed together. Eventually, the two ended up wandering aimlessly and found themselves in a rundown apartment. Needless to say, without jobs or money, their situation became dire. They deserved to see hell for the rest of their lives. Miles is about to celebrate his 3rd birthday. This year, we decided to spend his birthday at my parents' house, and both my mom and dad are really excited about it. I'm surrounded by reliable people. With them around, Miles will surely be fine. From now on, I'm certain only happy times are ahead.